morning, everybody. I'm the Gulf Coast Granny, and today we are going to talk about my favorite subject in the entire world, and that is gardening. Today is the day that I start my tomato seeds for my 2020 garden. Now, me and Bobby have a lot of work to do between today, which is January 13th, and March 1st when we put these seedlings in the ground. But today I'm going to show you guys how I do my seedlings. And I'm going to talk a little bit about tomatoes. If you don't know anything about them, stick around because I've got a wealth of knowledge about tomatoes. The first thing I did was I went and got myself some seed starting mix. This, I don't even know who makes this. Jiffy makes this seed starting mix. I use the same kind every year and it works great. I love it. This one happens to be organic. I'm not trying to grow organic. I can't. I'm in South Mississippi. There's humidity, there's heat, there's diseases, there's bugs. My God, the bugs. And it's a constant battle for me to grow tomatoes here, but it's a challenge, and most years I do okay. So what I do is I spoon some of my dirt into my cups. And I get it pretty much to the top. Now, the way you prepare this dirt or starting mix, look, where I come from, if it's brown in the ground, it's dirt or dog poop. But the way you start this is you put your seed starting mix in your container. And then you have to wet it down real good so that it's moist but not soggy. The type of tomato that I'm about to put in here is called Bella Rosa. This is a heat-resistant tomato. It takes about 75 days for it to mature from the time you plant it, not from today, but from the time you put it in the ground. It is also resistant to tomato spotted wilt virus, which is a disease that is very prevalent down here in my area. It is also a determinate tomato. If you don't know what determinate means, I'm about to tell you. It means that it grows into a bush. It puts out tomatoes over a small amount of time, and then it's finished. So you can't grow this one all season long and end up having tomatoes by the freeze next November, which is when we freeze. This will give you one glut of tomatoes, pretty much one, and then it's done. And I like to grow these kind of tomatoes, the determinate ones, in the springtime because our summers hit so fast here. By the middle of June, it's too hot for a tomato to fruit. A tomato won't fruit over about 87 to 90 degrees, depending on the variety. The heat-tolerant tomatoes will fruit around the 90-degree mark. It doesn't take long here in South Mississippi for it to get 90 degrees. Okay, what I'm going to do is put 2 seeds in each one of these containers, just in case one decides not to germinate. I get my seeds from Tomato Grower Supply. It's my favorite place to get them from. It's a company down in Florida. They're relatively inexpensive. They ship quickly, and I can get exactly what I want from them most of the time. Now, I'm going to take this fork and I'm going to toss this dirt around over the top of my tomato seeds. They do not have to be deep at all, maybe a 1/4 inch deep. And now I'm going to mark what variety these are. Just put BR for Bella Rosa on the sides of my cups. And honestly, if you live in the South, this is a very good tomato to grow. The tomatoes are about, I don't know, 10 to 12 ounces. Now, they're not great for slicing tomatoes, like for a sandwich or something, but they are great for freezing and for canning. What I do with them is just freeze them. I dice them up, I cook it for a little bit on the stove, not very long. I put salt and pepper in it, let it cook for a few minutes, and then I put them in freezer bags and lay them flat in the freezer. And that way I've got tomatoes for a while. Now, the other tomato that I'm going to do here is called a black Krim. Now, a black Krim is an indeterminate tomato. And indeterminate means it grows all season long. I could plant this tomato theoretically on March the 1st. And it would grow into a vine, and it would grow and produce tomatoes all summer long into the fall until the first freeze. Now, realistically, here in South Mississippi, that's not going to happen. Around July, the heat will kill this plant. I can't bring it inside. I don't have enough lighting to bring it inside and to keep it alive until the weather cools down and I can put it back outside. So what I normally do is I start some of these in the spring, and then around June 15th, I will start some more. I'll put them outside, and then I will have tomatoes through the fall. Now let me tell you something about black Krim. It is the most flavorful, amazingly tasty tomato I've ever eaten in my entire life. Truly. It's a very dark brownish red tomato. It almost looks blackish purple and sometimes. The flavor of it is extremely rich, and I'm not even kidding you. When you slice that thing open and you take a bite out of it, it tastes like it already has salt on it. I don't know how they did it, but it's the truth. The first time I grew this, I was absolutely amazed with it. So I'm doing it again because yum. Anyhow, the one thing I have to say about black Krim tomatoes is that they are prone to cracking. The skin is very thin because it's a slicing tomato, and also it's a little thinner than average. What causes these thin-skinned tomatoes to crack is a whole bunch of water at once. If it rains a lot, or if you overwater it, they will crack. Now, mind you, the cracks sometimes will heal themselves, and you can go on to have a wonderful tomato. But if it doesn't, it's probably not going to be any good because rot will set in, and you don't want that. It's worth it. So worth it to grow this tomato. I can't even tell you. This is my favorite tomato of all time. Now, let's mark our cups. BK for black Krim, Krim. I like using these Dixie cups. Well, they're not Dixie cups. They're the generic Walmart brand of small bathroom cups. And I love using them because they're see-through to some degree. And as your tomato seedling takes root, you can see the roots going around. And that's good because it tells you if your plant is healthy or not. When you put your plant outside, you don't want to put a rootless plant in there. Sometimes you'll get one that has a teeny tiny little root on it and maybe a couple of, 4, 5, 6 leaves on it. It'll be about this tall, but the roots aren't good and it won't grow well. It won't be a healthy plant. Again, I'm going to put 2 seeds in each cup to ensure that I get a plant out of each cup. They usually have excellent seeds at Tomato Grower Supply. I will usually get about a 98% germination rate on anything I plant from them, which is another reason that I use them. Now the next tomato that I'm going to do is one I've never grown before. It's called Legend. And it is a determinate, just like the Bella Rosa. It'll give me a great big glut and then it'll be finished. This tomato, what made me buy it, is that the package says that it has a strong resistance against the late blight fungus. Well, late blight has ruined many a tomato crops of mine. I hate it. It is my arch nemesis in gardening, especially, of course, with tomatoes. Any of the nightshade family can get these tomato diseases like mosaic virus and the late blight and wilt and spotted leaf. Vegetables like strawberries is a nightshade. Eggplant is a nightshade plant. And I can't remember off the top of my head right now what all is, but so it's best if you don't plant all of those next to each other, because if one gets it, everything will get it. But I'm kind of looking forward to the Legend tomatoes, see how they are. I believe, honestly, that they're more of a production tomato that they grow in Florida or on tomato farms, hot houses, things like that. But I'm going to try them. This package also says that it sets fruit under cooler temperatures, which is not bad. Because in March here in Mississippi, it can't make up its mind what it wants to do. Most years. Sometimes we'll get a freeze at the 15th of March. Sometimes it'll be so hot you can't garden. Just depends. Legend. I thought I was going to do 4 of you guys. I am. Y'all, I cannot tell you how happy this makes me. And this is one of the reasons that I love the first of the year. Is I get to start all of my tomatoes, and I get to start thinking about where I want to put everything. And this year, I get to think about designing my garden again, because of course we're in a new home and we have to start from scratch. However, I will say that I appreciate my landlord tremendously. I asked him about having a garden and a few other things we wanted to do around the house. And he said, make it your own. So I'm taking him up on that. Now, of course, I don't plan to kill all of his grass. There ain't a whole lot of grass out there anyway. I'm going to mark it with an L for Legend. And I'm about to need some more dirt. I've got some more seed starting mix ready. And that'll finish up this last little bit here. Usually I plant 30 to 40 tomatoes. This year, I don't have the room to do that this year. Like I said, I don't want to destroy this man's yard. And also, I'm not familiar with where the sun placement is and where how many trees are going to leaf out. And so I'm just taking it easy this year. I'm going to have one raised bed with eight of these indeterminate tomatoes. Probably mostly the Bella Rosa because I'm familiar with those. And then what I'm going to do with the other 3 varieties that I'm planting, the Black Crim and the other 2 here, is I'm going to put them in containers. Anyhow, that way I can move them around and find sun for them. The 8 that I plant in the raised bed is in an area that I believe is going to get the sun that I need it to get. If not, I'm in trouble. So we'll just see how that works. So I don't even know how many I've got right now. 4, 8, 12, 16, 18 of them. Now, the next one that I'm starting is called Sweet Million. Lowe's and Home Depot carry a variety called Sweet 100. This is just an improvement on that. They're cherry tomatoes, little snacking tomatoes. I love them, so I'm growing them. I think everybody needs one kind of cherry tomato in their life. What do you think? These are tolerant to cracking. They have really good disease resistance. And I will say one thing about cherry tomatoes. They seem to be able to thrive better in the heat than your bigger tomatoes. Now, they won't necessarily set fruit in the heat, but they won't die off and they'll start setting fruit again when the weather cools off. Well, when I say cool, that's relative, I'm sure. I've got a couple of tomatoes saved back for fall that I think do better in the fall. One is called a Virginia Sweet. Dear Lord in heaven. Okay. I told y'all that black Krim was my favorite tomato of all time. But I think it's tied with Virginia Sweet. Virginia Sweet is an orange and red and yellow tomato. It's kind of stripy all the way around it. And it has one of the best flavors I've ever had in my life too, along with the black Krim. In my opinion, those two are the top tomatoes ever produced. They're both used for slicing and not really canning. See, that's the beauty of tomatoes. There's so many different uses for them. You know, you get your little cherry tomatoes for salads, and then you get your real meaty tomatoes. Those are for canning. And then you get your great big pound tomatoes are for slicing or novelty, whatever. I grew, the Virginia Sweets are huge like that. One time I grew one, I swear to you, it was as big as both of my hands put together like this. I'm just going to put ox on this one for the orange ox heart. Now that we're finished putting the seeds in the cups, oh, I wanted to say, I did put little holes in the bottoms of these cups, if you can see. I just took a sharp knife and twisted it through. You want to have good drainage. You don't want these seeds sitting in water or the roots. Tomatoes do not like to have soggy feet. Now we're going to give these a good watering. And I cover mine in plastic wrap until I start seeing little sprouts come up. Now it should take about 7 to 10 days to start seeing sprouts on these tomatoes. And I won't have to water them because they are encased in this plastic, which kind of creates a little terrarium effect. I know in one of my last videos I told you guys that I had a grow table out in my Florida room at my other house. Well, I don't have that here. So this weekend, Poppy put together a really cool makeshift grow table for me in the living room, and I can't wait to show it to you guys. So let's go. I want y'all to look at this. Now I know it's not any great feat of architecture, but it fits my needs, and I'm going to explain what it is. Down below here, I have a 55-gallon fish aquarium, and we were going to put another one on top, but I changed my mind when we moved here because I really don't have the space for it. And so the other day we were talking about how I was going to grow my tomatoes without my grow table, and Poppy said, well, I think I've got an idea. So all he did was go to Lowe's this weekend and buy a 1x8 and a 2x4, and he made me this little miniature grow table on top of my fish aquarium. Now, is it pretty? No. Is it functional? Definitely. And let me tell you what I'm going to do. Now that we have our tomato seedlings wrapped in plastic and ready to germinate, I'm going to have Poppy go to the storage facility tonight and get my heat lamp. That's the only thing I didn't get today for my seedlings. What I'll do is I'll clip it here and have the heat radiating down onto the seedlings to warm them up, because the seedlings or the seeds need heat to germinate properly. Once I start to see little shoots coming up out of here, I'll turn the heat lamp off, and then I will turn on this grow light. Now this grow light is bright. See that? That's how bright it is. And as the plants grow, I will lift it by these chains. It's got little hooks, and there's hooks hanging from up here, and there's little loops on the chains, and I'll just raise it as the seedlings grow. Let me turn this off. Now, when you have a light like this, you want the light as close to the plants as possible. And that prevents the plant from growing tall and reaching for the light. If I had the light way up here, the plants would get real long and leggy. Well, that makes for an unhealthy plant. If you have it down low, they can get bushy as they grow. They can also put down better roots. So that's why I do it this way. You know, I really couldn't be any happier with this setup. It's in the house. I can keep a close eye on them. I can keep them warm. And it really just suits my purpose. Sometimes Poppy still amazes me with some of the things that he can do for me. And, you know, we always make do with what we've got. And he's always able to engineer something for me to fit my needs. And, you know, that's one of the reasons I married Poppy. Our anniversary is coming up on February the 2nd. And we'll be married 19 years. And sometimes people say, well, why did you marry him? And I said, I married him because he can fix everything. He can fix anything. And they're like, well, is that it? And I'm like, just about. There are other reasons, of course, that I married my husband. But that's seriously one of the reasons that I did marry him, was because he was handy. And I respect that. I get more enjoyment out of growing tomatoes and other vegetables, but mainly tomatoes, than I do just about anything else in this life other than my children and my family. So I'm very much looking forward to the upcoming season. This is my favorite time of year from now till the end of growing season. So that would be about November. Here in South Mississippi, we're able to grow just about all year long. The only months really that you can't grow anything here, well, about mid-July to mid-September. It's so hot that the only thing really that can make it through that heat is okra. And sometimes cowpeas, like black-eyed peas, zipper peas, field peas, those kind of things. Those will make it through the summer heat. But really nothing else can live through that. We get up to 98, 99, over 100 degrees sometimes, and the humidity is about the same, 98 to 99%, sometimes 100%. But the rest of the year, from mid-September all the way to about the middle of July, we can grow things, and I love it. That's why I love to live here. There's no break in the wintertime. There's a break in the summertime. Well, nobody wants to be out in that heat in the summertime anyway. So if you guys like this video, please give me a thumbs up below or leave me a comment in the comment section below. I would really appreciate it. I hope y'all have a great day, and I'll see you again real soon, all right?